Hello and welcome to the AVLAND video guide to the Onkyo TX-SR608 home cinema receiver. We're going to talk you through the features of this unit, its setup menus and its connections. It's the new TX-SR608, which is the latest in the model in the 600 series by Onkyo. It's got HDMI version 1.4 with audio return channel and 3D compatibility, and it's THX Select 2 Plus certified. Moving into the front, you can see it's the familiar Onkyo design, retaining the curved top from the 607 and that front HDMI input. It's aluminium fronted, which is unusual at this price point, with input select buttons rather than a knob or dial, and the volume control on the right hand side. Looking at the back of the unit now, you can see there's the first thing that catches your eye is that RGB VGA input for the PC. Not necessarily useful now because most PCs are coming with HDMI graphics cards. You see this the HDMI inputs on the back there. Remember, there is the one on the front. That's for connections of PS3, Blu-ray or Freeview HD tuners like the Humax HD Fox T2. Setting up for banana plugs, standard 4mm banana plug connections. Just take a small screw, drive that into the back of the small plastic bung, take that out, and then you can just get your 4mm banana plug and just stick that in there. We'd recommend doing that as it will give you a better connection to the actual receiver. Okay, now we're going to show you under the lid of the Onkyo TX-SR608. Moving into the internal features now, you can see this is quite a well packed out unit with the large heatsink on the front. You know, first thing that people do notice is that 120mm fan. You won't be able to hear this at low volume because it only really speeds up when the unit is at high volume, at which point you won't hear it because the unit will be at a high volume. And you can see there's a HDMI video board. This has got 1080p Faruja DCDI scaling in it, so it does pretty well for improving the picture of standard definition sources, even something like a Nintendo Wii, which is something that a lot of people use. And you see there's a big power supply on the left hand side of the unit there. Moving into the menus, first thing you've got is the monitor out where you set the output resolution. You can just do this automatic or through, and then all the way up to 1080i or 1080p. Moving on from that, you've got the HDMI input, which is assigning the HDMI input depending on which one you want to use it for. So obviously, if you are using something like a Freeview HD tuner, you might want to put HDMI 2 as tuner there. And the same for component. I mean, most people aren't using component now. You've probably got a DVD recorder or an Xbox 360, and that's really all you'd be using it for. And digital audio input as well. So if you're using a coax or an optical connection, just pop that on to which one you want. Moving into the speaker setup, first thing, impedance 4 or 6 ohms. This will happily drive speakers that are 8 ohms impedance as well though. What you're using the front speakers for, so if you're just doing them normal or bi-amped. And then the speaker terminal assigning, so whether you're using the front high, front wide zone 2, and then the surround back ones as well. Moving into the speaker configuration, are you using a subwoofer? Yes or no? And then if it is, do you want the fronts to be full band, or then where's the cut-off point? So if you're using like a smaller satellite speaker, at which point do you want the speakers to not be being sent the base signal and just sending that to the subwoofer instead? And then the same with the centre and the surround speakers as well. 80 Hz is the THX recommended thing. Obviously this unit is THX certified. Speaker distance, you do this in meters or in feet, and then you can move on, and then you say it's just the distance from your listening position. It's done in 30 centimetre increments, just to give it, generally this is what we recommend doing, is just going through and fine-tuning it yourself, even if you do use an auto setup. Same for the level calibration, that will give you the test tone, and you can boost the signal to the rear speakers or the front speakers, depending, just to get an equal level across. And then equaliser settings, again, per channel here, so you can boost the different frequency settings, which a lot of people, especially around the World Cup this year with the vuvuzelas, have been trying to cut out of the audio. And then the THX Audio Setup as well. So the spacing between the surround back speakers, if you're using the THX Ultra 2 or Select 2 subwoofer, then the boundary gain compensation off or on, and then again loudness plus off or on. And if you turn that off, you can preserve your THX settings as well if you want. Moving on from the speaker setup, we've got the audio adjust menu. So moving on to audio adjust, you've got the multiplex or mono settings there. So Dolby and DTS settings here as well. So your music input, your DTS input there. Odyssey DXX is out at the moment because we've not set the amp up with Odyssey, and it's just the center image. Moving on to theatre dimensional, listening angle, whether it's wide or narrow, basically. And then the LFE level, so this is for your subwoofer. Depending on the signal you're sending it, whether you want to boost the subwoofer on that, and you've got even down to DSD there for SACD signals, and you can say you can boost it, you can cut it out. So then moving on to source setup, in televolume, which is setting the input level for each source individually. So if you've got, say your TV tuner is a little bit louder than like your PS3 or something, you can boost your PS3 up if you want to get the same level. You've got the renaming, obviously there's the AV sync, which is lip sync as well, to keep, sometimes you get a bit of a lag between picture and audio, and this can happen on games consoles, so if you want to bring that, just to adjust that entirely. This is actually a new GUI which is overlaid over HDMI, so if you get a moving image behind it, with the older GUIs you'd lose that image. But with this one, you'll have that sitting behind the actual menu. These are just the picture adjustment settings that we're on now. Now down into, so you've got your edge enhancement, your noise reductions, game modes. Moving on to listening mode preset. Again, this is per source, so you can either set it to the last valid, whichever one you were using, basically. So if it was getting a Dolby Dig signal, that's what it'll be expecting to get this time, or you can force it into being ProLogic 2. And then your different DSP settings, so it's got 4 different DSPs for gaming, for example, rock, sports, RPG, and action. Generally recommend leaving it on last valid or direct. Miscellaneous setup, you've got the volume setup here, so if the volume display is relative or absolute, the muting level, so this will either take it down to complete mute, minor, like effectively infinity, or just reduce it by 50 dB. Maximum volume, so you can set, so you don't overdrive your speakers, you can have it just in case someone doesn't know your amp, you can have that so you can just set it at one level. The powering on volume, which is, say, at the last level, if you've been listening to it loud, it will turn on loud. Moving on to the OSD setup, so you've got your on-screen display on or off, determines, say, if you're using a PAL, NCSC or auto signal on your TV, and then the language, obviously we'll leave that on English because we're not from the Netherlands. Hardware setup, so the remote ID, if you're using multiple units of this, so you don't want to get the remotes confused, you can set the remote ID, the tuner, so the AM frequency steps, and then the HDMI setup there. So if you want your lip sync on or off, the RHID, which is like the CEC functions, so with that you can sort of get the, trying to get everything to integrate. It doesn't always work perfectly, but an audio return channel setup is on that as well, and then your remote mode setup at the end of that. You can program up the remote buttons, and this has got what you're then going to pop onto it, and then locking setup at the end just to stop people messing around with your settings. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video guide to the Onkyo TX-SR608 home cinema receiver. If you'd like to see the rest of the Onkyo range, or just to watch some more video reviews, then please visit our website, www.avland.co.uk. Thanks very much.